No evidence, no proof. There was only judgment and punishment.
It is highly likely that Russia was responsible. We do hold Russia culpable for the attempted murder.
The pundits needed even less. The name Novichok sounds Russian, means Russia did it.
They've established that it is Novichok, and that is, by definition of the translation of the name, which means newcomer, part of a program in the Soviet Union in the late 70s and 80s.
The point's made. There are a lot of questions to ask of this whole mess. But over the last few weeks, we've interviewed dozens of chemists, experts, and military specialists. And here are their biggest gripes. The Novichok nerve agents are no secret. They haven't been so in decades. Here they are, excerpts from the books and studies available to the public. Neither the formula nor the chemicals are any more Russian than air itself. For years now, researchers have published studies and theses on the Novichoks, which there are dozens and dozens of, many developed in different countries.
In 2007, a US author published a paper on numerous chemical compounds. We were interested because of their toxicity. The author united them under the Novichok system. There are more than 60 compounds here, and they have all been indexed. That means someone somewhere synthesized them and shared the information. Since then, these formulas, or some of them, have appeared in various publications constantly. You simply cannot say they are a secret.
There's more to it. If you suspect a potential adversary has made a new discovery, you have to do the same in order to study the new substance and make antidotes.
It's true to say that Russia is not the only country being able to synthesize a few grams of Novichok. In the late 90s, all intelligence services in the West worked on Novichok because there were these rumors about a new military chemical agent produced in Russia. So I'm not surprised that in France, in UK, in the United States, they have this kind of information that could explain the speed in which the product was identified. That's the purpose and that's the job of this kind of laboratories.
And there's a whole lot of nerve agents to go around, with more being discovered, undeclared nerve agents.
Anytime a country, and there are many, discovers the properties of a new chemical structure, its toxicity or chemical weapon potential, they must immediately, according to the convention, register it with the OPCW. But no country does so, despite having created many such chemicals.
And it really isn't as difficult as it may sound.
If it's really a Novichok we are dealing with, it's not a real problem to synthesize that kind of nerve agent. All the necessary components are easily available on the open market. The synthesis does not require sophisticated procedures. Any specialist in organic chemistry would be able to make it.
Though every expert we talked to said that you need serious expertise and substantial funding to make pure nerve agent.
Of course, you can't make this in any basement. The chemicals are highly toxic and the lab has to be well equipped with ventilation, detoxification equipment, and the chemists themselves have to be educated. Not every lab can synthesize this, but there are 20 or so labs that can.
The argument that there is no alternative explanation because only Russia has made Novichoks fails. Britain's decision to classify almost every aspect of what happened and the investigation has got the rumor mill running. But there are tidbits that have leaked out, tidbits that have the scientists scratching their heads.
Novichok is supposed to be very toxic, highly toxic, 5 to 8 times more toxic than VX, which is already very, very toxic. So small amounts should have killed Mr. Skripal for sure. But again, it's very difficult to assess and evaluate this kind of question before knowing exactly how the product was delivered.
The interesting thing with Novichoks is that there are so many of them, and they come in so many different forms. They can come in a powder, as a solid, as a crystal, and even as a liquid. But just to give you some reference, if this was a variety of the Novichoks, a single drop is enough to kill 10 people within minutes. If this was inhaled, even more.
If inhaled, symptoms appear and death follows in minutes. If it gets on the skin, symptoms and death can take from minutes to hours.
At first, one might think that the Skripals could only have survived because the dose had to be very small. But the reported symptoms don't match. They're simply missing.
When witnesses found them, they said Sergei Skripal was rocking back and forth, waving his hands. It seemed more like the effects of narcotics. If it was a small dose, as they claim, then first would come meiosis, then the rest of the symptoms, convulsions, uncontrolled urination. But we didn't see that in photos or hear of it in reports. There are many questions.
If indeed this was a Novichok nerve agent at work, the Skripals were very fortunate. British medics must have realized quickly what was at work here, or else have a miracle cure for unknown nerve agents.